Okay, today we are playing a game on Oasis. We are playing Baptiste the entire way through, and there is no SR for today's game because it was a placement game, but estimated to be mid-platinum. Also, we're on the console today, so consider yourself forewarned. Current team composition is Reinhardt, Genji, Soldier 76, Batista, Mercy, and Bridget. So, we've only got one tank, but we do have Bridget. Bridget's like half a tank, so really we got like 1.5 tanks. I haven't really got anything to say about the team, to be honest with you. It's fine. Let's just start the game. So we're on Garden first. We just chucked the Immortality field in right now. There's not a lot of reason to do that right now, because everybody's full health, and we're about to walk in behind a Reinhardt shield, so not much point. Better used as like a reaction to bad things happening, rather than preemptively like that, because it doesn't really help you if you're full health. Unless you think, like, the person's gonna get shot by a Widow or something like that, you know, someone's gonna one-shot them. Because now would be a pretty good time to actually use the Immortality field, because Bridget just got sniped by Widowmaker, but Mercy's decided that she's going to res Bridget right there, even though Widowmaker is probably still looking at her. So now would be a good time to toss it over there to try and keep Mercy alive, but she ended up living regardless. Well, she ended up dying there, didn't she? But she lived from the Widowmaker regardless, so it didn't matter overly so. And now half our team is dead. We're pretty fucked. We can jump up and down onto the high ground in here to try and survive a little bit longer, but we're fucked. Like, better off just dying. Any map that's got, like, high ground on it, this is the one thing that I found Batista's jump is really good for, is using cover that's near high ground, and then you can jump up onto the high ground as soon as bad things start happening. Admittedly, I am bad at using Batista's jump, probably, but there's that, and then there's, like, juking divers, because you can jump off high ground, then immediately jump back up onto the high ground again after they follow you down, like, joking like that. Those are, like, the only real uses I found for the jump so far, but admittedly I might just be bad. So Widowmaker just used Infrasight, and that's pretty scary. We do have Amplification Matrix built up right now. We do kind of just like chuck it down immediately, and we end up not getting a massive amount of value out of it. I prefer to use the Amplification Matrix like pretty much as soon as the enemy team commits to a push, or commits to a fight, I guess, if they're not the ones pushing. This is all very bad for us. Genji's using Dragon Blade right now as well. Miraculously, we actually end up winning this fight in the end, but boy, were things going badly right there. So not the enemy team, our team. Nobody on our team really benefits from Amplification Matrix that much. Reinhardt can one-shot people with the Fire Strike, so that's cool, but it's not worth, like, pinning all your hopes and dreams on that, usually. So, pretty much we'll probably end up using Amplification Matrix mostly for ourselves during this game, because everybody else is going to be pretty in, and you don't want to throw the Amplification Matrix too far forward, because if you, like, throw it down, like, at the front line so that, like, Reinhardt can try and use it for the Fire Strike, then, like, there's no guarantee he's actually going to hit anybody with the Fire Strike. And then the enemy team can just walk through the Matrix, and then, oh, I don't get to use the Matrix anymore. So you're better off putting it, like, between the front line and the back line. It's just the back line in this game is going to be mostly just us. So pretty much it's going to be just for us, really. So we ended up winning this fight regardless. We chucked the Immortality field in there as well. Genji was using Dragon Blade, so it's fair enough to want to try and keep him alive, but it looked like he was probably going to be fine without it. And it's a pretty beefy cooldown, so we don't want to be too frivolous with it. So the enemy team is actually really fucking bad, because look, they've got one... They don't really do that. I was going to say they have one tank. No. They've got Roadhog. So, but hey, you know, May's half a tank, right? So that means between Roadhog and May, they've got like one full tank. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So yeah, their team's pretty bad. Such is life, right? Yeah. So someone's on the point back here. It's Tracer. Oh, here comes Doomfist as well. So we put the field down right now because we were kind of scared we're going to die. That's fair enough. We like being alive when we're the main healer, or just the healer in general. So we've chucked the field down, but like it's not going to be here forever. So I want to start like charging a jump so that as soon as the field is gone, we can just jump up onto the high ground and then try and hang out up there, because then hey, Tracer can't hit us up there without going out of her way, and Doomfist just used his uppercut, so he couldn't get up to us either without using his ultimate. So, jump up and down between the high ground during the fights. Ideally, you know, getting to hang out on the high ground is pretty cool, but because you can reposition to the high ground so easily, I find it's better to stay on low ground, because then people will come to try and fight you on low ground, and you can hop up onto the high ground as soon as that happens. And if you need the vantage point on the high ground, hey, you just jump up there and get it still, right? So we do get into a fight with a Widow right here. Massively not favored in this matchup. If we're gonna try and fight her, we should put the Immortality Field down, because then that slants it a lot more in our side, because she suddenly can't kill us without breaking the field first, but kind of just not worth us getting into the effort of fighting her. Anytime you're playing someone that, like, if you're gonna get into a fight with Widow, like, if you can't one-shot her, you're kind of at a disadvantage, because she can one-shot you, right? Like, Anna's gotta hit her 3 times, so they gotta hit Anna once. Not exactly great. So, we've got Matrix built up, but we're not gonna have time to wait for our team to regroup. We're going to just have to kind of go in. Did use Regenerative Burst pretty early right there, because we actually hadn't taken any damage yet. I do think you want to use Regenerative Burst as much as possible, but you want to also try and, like, make sure people are getting healed off of it, and make sure you're not going to die from using it, because, hey, it's your only self-heal, which is a little ridiculous to me. Like, I think it's pretty outrageous that his healing grenades don't work on himself, but hey, you know, who am I to question Daddy Jeff, right? So we end up losing that round. We could have tried to juke up and on and off the high ground during the fight right there, but you know, whatever. We're pretty fucked. So now we actually have a Soldier on our team again. So Soldier might get to benefit from the Amplification Matrix with us. Pretty much, like, I'm not gonna worry about using the Matrix for the front line. It's, if, like, Reinhardt wants to back up to try and get a Fire Strike through him, like, that's his business, but, like, I'm gonna use it mostly for the back line. So, like, if there's a ranged DPS, like Soldier, or Hanzo, Ashe, I'll try and, like, share it with them, but, like, it's not the end of the world if you only use it for yourself, but it is mostly for the back line. The front line doesn't benefit hugely from the Amplification Matrix, because, like, Reinhardt only benefits for Fire Strike, that's it. He gets 1 per Amplification Matrix, that's it. It's not worth banking all your hopes and dreams on him, because there's no guarantee it'll hit. And then after that, he's spam. Like, Zarya, I guess, benefits from it a little bit. Winston doesn't benefit from it. D.Va doesn't really benefit from it. She can benefit from it, but, like, pretty hard to still. Most frontliners, the Amplification Matrix doesn't really matter to them, so just worry about using it for the backline more than anything else. We just use Regenerative Burst. Everyone's pretty much full health right now, so no reason to do that. Everybody was, also the Immortality Field, same deal. Didn't really need to use it right there. Everybody was full health, so unless they were going to get shot by Widow, there was no benefit for it. Just use Regenerative Burst again. Everybody's, like, full health right now, so it's not really doing anything. Doomfist did just start to jump in right there. Unfortunately, it's not great versus Doomfist, because Doomfist can push you out of the Immortality Field. I keep almost calling it the Amplification Matrix. They both do 2 very different things, the exact opposite ends of the spectrum, in fact. He can push you out of the Immortality Field, so that's pretty sad. Not really the uppercut. It doesn't lift you, like, anywhere near high enough to do that, so we have just been hacked. That's pretty sad for us, because we're a pretty cooldown dependent hero, but hey, we can still use our left and right clicks. Not the end of the world. The fact there is a Sombra is very scary, because Emp will break the Matrix, which will be very sad for us. Oh yeah, we got that boy good. Yeah. So we do have it built up now. Hopefully Soldier doesn't go too far forward, so that we don't have to chuck the Matrix somewhere ridiculous for both of us to get benefit out of it. Another thing with the Matrix is, like, well, it's a question in the email, so I won't get too into that right now. We're going to talk about the Matrix at more length later on. So, Soldier's trying his absolute best to get picked off right now, but he's managed to avoid doing so. Sombra's back. We're looking for the translocator right now. It's at the top of the stairs. There we go. We could have tried to chuck the Immortality Field right here to keep this guy alive, because things are looking pretty scary for him. He's hacked and low health, but we would have needed to react pretty quickly. to save that guy. We chuck it over there to try and save Roadhog. Doesn't actually... It goes a little bit too far to actually save him, and then we end up getting pushed into a weird spot. He ended up living regardless, so that's cool. And then, hey, all that stuff happens back there. Widow just used her ultimate, so that's very scary. Okay, jump over the car. I was a little afraid. You know, it's very scary to just run at moving traffic, you know? So we still have the Matrix built up. Don't know if Soldier has his ultimate ready or not, because if you can combo it with Tac Visor, oh boy, do you kill people real fucking fast. Reinhardt just died. That's obviously very bad. Our Doomfist's going in. We've put the Matrix down. That's fair enough, because we're pretty invested in this fight. Unfortunately, we can't really see anybody else. That's the unfortunate thing about a map that's got lots of corners, is they can kind of just disappear around places. So all we could really see was Sombra and Widowmaker, and then Widowmaker got fucking punched to death, so... Hey, you know, it's a fair enough time to use it, but unfortunately there's like a lot of walls for people to disappear around this point on, and everybody else, like, you know, kind of got... Everybody, like, Widow got punched, you know? So we end up winning the fight regardless. Their team comp is still really fucking bad, so it's not that hard for us to win these rounds. You know, the first one went pretty badly, but, like, their team comp is really bad. As long as they don't, like, snowball on us, things are looking pretty good for us. Because that's the fear versus, like, the mega DPS comps, right? Is, like, if they start snowballing, it can be hard to stop them. So we chuck the field in right now and just, like, walk into it ourselves. Could we have really tried to save Ryan with it? Yeah, we could have. We're just looking at Roadhog right now, but we could have tried to chuck it to save Ryan. That guy's fucked, whatever. We can see Ryan's in critical health over there, so we could have tried to chuck it sooner to save him. Because saving Ryan would be pretty nice, but... Soldier's using Tac Visor. Like, we're still winning the fight regardless, so... Whatever. Don't get punished. Don't have to learn. That's what I always say. Moira's around here, taking a little bit of time to kill her, but we got her, no problem. So, now on to University. University is a pretty good map for Baptiste, because it's all, like, it's a very bunker-compy map, right, where, like, it's just, like, these long sight lines at each other, so he can sit pretty far back and get big value. And there's lots of, like, well, not lots, but there's more places than usual you can do jumping, right, because you can jump, in and out of the pit to juke people. I don't know why I'm drawing like that. You can jump in and out of the pit to juke people, and then there's the windows that you can jump in and out of to juke people as well. So, it's got some geometry around the point that's useful for Baptiste to use during a fight. No reason to chuck the immortality field down right now. Unless Reinhardt's about to get spiked down by something, he's not gonna be in any risk of dying, so no need to use the field right there. Doomfist jumped in for some attempted big damage, but we've got big AoE heals, so hey, everything's fine. No need to chuck it down right now, everybody's fine. Still better used as a reaction, for my money, the immortality field. Everything else kind of use as much as you can, but the immortality field is more of a reactive item. So, we got a Widowmaker hanging out over there, but she ends up backing off. It's gonna be hard for a Widowmaker to shoot people past 2 barriers, but hey, you know, she can do whatever she wants. She's a strong, independent lady. If she wants to play Widow, she's allowed. So we chuck the Matrix down right now. Versus Orisa specifically, it's pretty easy to get like some pretty set value out of this, because her shield's about to break right now. Once Orisa, like, puts a new shield down, she's pretty committed to that location, because she can't move her shield around freely. So versus Orisa specifically, if you wait for her to put her shield down, she's now committed to a location. That's a good time to put the Matrix down, because then you can just, like, burst the shield down, and then melt the Orisa behind the shield, because she isn't going to want to leave the shield behind after she just put it down. So versus Orisa specifically, you can get a pretty set, not necessarily 100% guaranteed kill out of it, but a pretty likely kill, because Orisa, like, knuckles down in an area to defend it. So, we've got Reaper floating in right now. Quite a few people on our team are dead at this point, so it's not exactly looking good. We're better off just backing out. What's their team comp? Is it still bad? I didn't get a good look at it, but I think it was still bad. They at least have a Winston now, right? So their team's a little bit better than it has been the last couple rounds. So there's a Reaper, so we do have to worry about trying to block his ultimate with Immortality Field. We've almost got Matrix built up again. We got a Junkrat, so, like, ideally he benefits from it as well, but, like, not the end of the world if Junkrat doesn't get to use the Matrix. What's so good. Like, it's so good. Ooh, when did we use the field? This is important, because we just got Span on. Did we use it right here? Did we really need to use it right here? It was a little sketch on the road, on the Junkrat living. Fair enough. It is just Winston. And we're not, like, we got plenty of time, so I'm not super heartbroken if he dies right now, to be honest with you. So I'd rather not use the field right now, or the Matrix, but we don't have that to use right now. I'll be a little greedy and save it for this boy, because if he dies right here, it's not the end of the world. He's just a little staggered. We gotta wait a little longer. Yeah, not the end of the world. Fun fact with the Baptiste's amplification matrix, though, right, is that his shots do 25. Amplification matrix is double damage. So, body shot from Baptiste, 50 damage. So, if you hit all 3 shots from the burst, that's 150 damage. That's pretty much a dead squishy. If one of the shots is a headshot, it's 100 damage. So, if you get one headshot, you can one-shot a squishy as Baptiste. That's pretty sick. Or, if we're versus an Orisa, Orisa's only got 400 hit points and a really big head hitbox. So, oh, it's so good. Just like, she gets just fucking minced. And that's even without many headshots in there, right? Amplification Matrix is, like, pretty nasty. Like, just Baptiste himself can one-shot people with the Matrix because the burst, just with one headshot, he had just one shot's a squishy. It's not really one shot because it's a burst fire, but you get the idea. He can kill a squishy with one shot, provided it's one of the hits is a headshot. Which is pretty nasty. And this is why it's not the end of the world if you're the only person that benefits from the, Amplification Matrix. It's a very fast-charging ultimate, and, like, just think about it this way. If you use it for just yourself, you effectively have 2 Batistas now, because everything you do has suddenly become doubled. So you've made a clone of yourself, right? So, you know, if you can get one of the other long-range DPS to benefit from it as well, that's great. Now you got 2 soldiers, you know, that's sick. But, like, just having 2 Batistas is pretty fucking good. Because my man's got some pretty beefy heals. So we chuck the field down right here, because things are turning into kind of a fucking mess. We don't need to stay here, though, because we can heal our teammates around the corner. So, you know, we're trying to get some damage in right now, which is an admirable goal. I like to click on the bad men and watch them die. But we don't need to be standing up there. We could just be standing around the wall and healing our teammates, and that's fine, seeing as Moira's using Coalescence right now, and that's a little bit on the scary side. Seeing as our shields will do not much to protect us against that one. So, hey, someone on their team just DC'd. Now is the time to strike. And we've almost got Immortality Field. Amplification Matrix again. Didn't need to use the Immortality Field right here, really. Maybe a little bit scared of dying to Widowmaker. That's fair enough, but didn't really need to use the field right there. Reinhardt was basically going to be fine, and we could just back up a little bit and not be at risk. So we put the Matrix down immediately. The thing is, we can't really see anybody right now. So, you know, if we can't really see anybody at the time, and our teammates aren't, like, moving in yet, it's less likely we're going to get value out of it. Again, I like to wait until, like, the enemy team is committed to the fight one way or the other to use it, because otherwise, like, if you put it down too early, and, like, nobody's in position to, like, get shot, then it just ends up being really sad, you know, because they can just stay out of line of sight of the Matrix until it's gone, and then come back in line of sight afterwards, so that can end up being very sad. But hey, it's 5v6 right now, so things are looking pretty good for us. Chuck the Matrix in there, the field in there, nobody dies. Now we chuck the Matrix down as well. Big heals. All good. We're going to win the round, to nobody's great surprise, given someone on their team DC'd. Who got played the game? Probably a Genji. Right? Gotta have been one of the Genjis, doesn't it? No, it was Moira. That's quite surprising. I thought one of the Genjis got like a triple kill. She did do a lot. This did put up a lot of numbers, to be fair, didn't it? Moira, not that hard to play the game as Moira, if you can get like a pretty sick lineup like that. So that's the video done. Now we're going to go over to the email, because we got a few questions in the email to answer. So, first question is, what do you think of my gameplay so far? Please keep in mind I have less than 2 hours of experience on Baptiste, so if I make a lot of stupid mistakes, I'm very much still learning. That's fair enough. Pretty much just like a little overly eager on the cooldowns. Pretty much all three of them. A little bit too liberal with the Matrix, Burst, and Immortality field. So, you know, it's like Ana, where her cooldowns are really important. Batista's the same way, his cooldowns are really important. So, overly eager with the cooldowns, but other than that, I mean, pretty much fine. Could be playing a little bit further back in some instances, like the part right at the end there, but that might just be like, well, that's the last thing I saw, so obviously that's what I remember right now. Next up is, when should I use his Shift and E, so Regenerative Burst and Immortality Field. I'm trying to just say the names rather than Shift, E, whatever, just because it's simpler for people to play it, because if somebody who plays on console is listening, they might be like, well, what's Shift, you know? Anyway. I vaguely understand that you're meant to use the Immortality Field when someone is about to die, but I worry about its long cooldown a lot, and I end up just choosing to die rather than use it on myself. Is it acceptable to use the field and regeneration on just myself if I'm being dove on? Yes, it is, because ultimately, like, you staying alive is very important, especially since, like, Baptiste is a main healer. If you're playing with an off healer, like, you dying as the main healer is very, very bad. So we don't want that to happen. So yeah, it's fine to use them on yourself, to keep yourself alive. The Immortality Field, I was about to do it. The Immortality Field, pretty much, like, use it in response to things happening. Like, don't just chuck it out, like, preemptively. It's like, oh, this guy is in big danger right now, so I'm gonna use it to try and keep him alive. Or, someone's using a scary ultimate, obviously, use it for that. You can use it for stuff like clearing Hammond mines out, use it to block ultimates or keep people alive if it looks like they're gonna die. You can use, like, if you got a Widow fighting a Widow or a Hanzo fighting a Widow, you can chuck it on yours to try and, because, boy, does that suddenly slant it massively in yours' favor, right? So that's a good one. If you're gonna use Amplification Matrix, it's usually good just to put the Immortality Field down with it as well, because the enemy team likes to focus fire on the people using the Matrix, so it'll just makes it easier to keep people alive. And then, you know, try and keep it out of line of sight when you deploy it, like try and use cover for it, because, you know, the obvious counterplay is, well, just break the drone forehead, right? Like, it's easy. Well, if you put it around a corner, suddenly they can't. This is particularly strong on maps like Hanamura's second checkpoint, because if you imagine that one, right, where you've got this is going to look bad, right, but look. So we've got the balcony. This is the balcony, right? And so the point's down here. This is down below. And you got the door over here that goes into the staircase, right? I don't know what I'm doing. This is terrible. We've got the doorway over here that goes down to the staircase out, right? And then there's the staircase back there. So the Immortality Field is really good on this map, because your team's going to be standing up on the balcony, obviously, and they're going to start, like, fighting people on the staircase a lot of the time. So you imagine a situation where, like, they suddenly, like, earth shatter down here or grab people in this area, right? Just, like, engage a fight on the people next to the staircase. you can chuck the immortality field, like, right here. And it will be both out of line of sight from them down there anyway, because there's all the walls in the way. But it also is slightly above the door frame as well. So even if they're, like, right here, if it's close-ish to the door frame, it's actually a little bit above the door frame. So it's very hard for them to break it even if they're stood right there. So then the immortality field becomes very strong right here because it's just right there. They can't break it, so everybody stood on the landing right there. They just can't die. So there are some maps where it is particularly strong because it is very easy to put the immortality field somewhere where the drone just can't really get broken because of where the enemy team is advancing from. Dorado is a pretty good one as well, like first checkpoint right there, or third checkpoint as well has got a good one, because you can just put it like right around the corner next to the choke point, and they've got to push like pretty far through the choke point to get up the ramp on the first checkpoint, so it's really good there. Third checkpoint, there's the bridge going up halfway up the third checkpoint on Dorado. Just put it around the wall, bam, suddenly they can't break it, and then, that's probably where we're standing. Suddenly they can't break the field. So there are some maps in particular where it is really strong, because basically it just means somebody has to be flanking your team if they're going to break the drone, and flankers are not great at breaking the drone, because most of them are quite short range. So that's the gist of it. Regenerative Burst, I do think you want to try and use as much as possible. But you've got to be careful, because you got to make sure people are actually getting healed off of it, because if it's just like nothing's really happening yet and one guy's like taking a little bit of poke damage, just chuck a grenade at him. That's good enough. But like if a fight is happening, we're in like the poking phase of the game where people are just taking a bunch of chip damage, or like a fight's happening, you want to use it as much as you can. I think in those kind of situations, but you do have to be careful because it's your only way to heal yourself. So you can put yourself in a bad situation if you're too liberal with it, but I do think you want to try and use that one as much as possible. So third off, how do I use his ultimate? I feel like a lot of times I just leave the Matrix behind because it's not in a great place, / we moved on from that position. What do you suggest? Usually I find people have the opposite problem. I know I have the opposite problem, where I put it way too far forward and the enemy team just advances forward, through it, and then hey, suddenly it's not very helpful anymore. Pretty much just wait until like a fight is being committed to, pretty much, because then you've got a pretty set idea of like, well, we're going to be fighting in this area now, right? So like as soon as a fight starts, just like chuck it down between the front line and the back line. And if the enemy versus Orisa, it's very easy. Just wait for her to put her shield down. She's committed now, right? Like, so if they got like a dive team, like separate yourself from the divers as much as you can. And ideally, like, a ranged DPS comes with you, but not necessary. Again, just using the Matrix for yourself is fine as well. Just having 2 Batistas is pretty good. So try and separate yourself from the diver, like jump up on high ground, just like back up away from, like, walk out of Winston's bubble or something like that. Just like put some space between you and the diver. Then put it down where you've got like a decent vantage point over the rest of the fight. So, there'll be a lot of things that goes into that one. But just wait till a fight is committed and then put it between the front line and the back line. Because the back line people are the ones that are really going to benefit from the Matrix. Frontline heroes, typically, they don't get much out of the amplification Matrix. If Reinhardt wants to back up to use a Fire Strike, his choice, it's not worth playing entirely around that. So just wait for them to fight to start. Don't be like too overeager. It's not, you can try and like put it down before a fight starts to try and make something happen. But I find it's a lot easier. That's easy to do versus Orisa. Buckle down. We do it now. But for most other people, I think it's easier to just use it like as soon as a fight is committed to. If you're defending, you can. It's a little bit easier. Well, I guess if you were attacking as well, but this is way more likely to be of benefit for the defending team. If, like, they've got, like, a Reinhardt, you can just wait until he's in a position, or he's pushed up into a position where he has, like, a long way to go to retreat, and then you can just put the Matrix down before the fight starts, and then you can suddenly just, like, blitz the Reinhardt to death, right? So an easy example would be like, you know what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to start Overwatch, and that will be an easier demonstration than me fucking drawing things, won't it? 1 second. Okay, so this is an easier demonstration, right? So imagine that we're defending Hollywood, right? So we are standing up here like you usually would on this kind of hero. Hey, look at this big open space, right? So they've got like Reinhardt, and imagine he's just like walking straight down here, right? We can wait until he pushes up to like here, and then just put the matrix down. Ideally, we got like a soldier or something up here with us, and then like Reinhardt's got a pretty long way to go back to safety, because if he's like here, he's got to go all that way back to get to safety. That's a pretty long backwards movement he's got to make, right? So you can just do it like right there, like, and just like blitz him to death because he's got a long way to go to retreat. And you can kill people mad fast with Amplification Matrix. Similar deal if we're like, if he comes like this way instead, we can wait for him to like turn the corner, get like, yeah, like here-ish, and then put it down. And suddenly his options are hide up here, where our teammates can all just run in and dogpile him, or back up around the corner again. Either way, like, Amplification Matrix is a disgusting amount of bonus damage, so he's not looking too good. So ideally, you just kind of wait for them to be committed, and then kind of go for it from there. I was going to go to a different map for another demonstration, but we can just do a different checkpoint on here, can't we? So if we're up here instead, right? So this is not usually where you'd stand, but just for argument's sake, right? So they're pushing up like so. If you wait until, like, Reinhardt's, like, here, hey, he's got to go real far back to get to safety. He's got to do the whole street, right? Or if we come back over here, this is somewhere a little bit more feasible for us to be standing. We can stand all the way back here. Once Reinhardt gets, like, there, again, he's got a long way to go to get back to safety, or he's gonna squat behind the cart or the payload, right? So, either way, he's got a long way to go. He's pretty committed to the direction at that point. Just put it down and burst him to death. If we're, like, back here, at pretty much any point during this street, right? Like, he's got a long way to go back to get to safety. Or, like, he can, like, go down there. So if he's, like, here, you know, with the payload, pretty much, you just, like, throw it down. He's got a long way to go. He's got to go all the way over there, like hide behind the boxes. Not great. Go over there in the house. Either way, he's got a long way to go. And if we're somewhere like here, you've probably got the idea, but we might as well go all the way back down the track at this point, right? So if we're on third checkpoint, we're like all the way back here. Once Reinhardt's like there, you know, if he's standing like here-ish, hey, he's got to go from there to there, that's a long way, or there to there, that's a long way as well, and they're not, like, any guarantee, because we can still see him, and he's, like, taking damage running away. So, that's easier to do with defending versus attacking. You can just wait until they are, where the Reinhardt or Orisa has, like, committed to something. They're, like, a long way away from cover. You can just put it down and, like, burst them to death, because they've got a long way to go to get back to safety. So that's more helpful for, I don't know why it does this. For some reason, when I Alt-Tab now, it just says, like, I'm just gonna fire away. So that's easier to do on defense than attack, but if you can just, like, wait for them to commit, then that'll be good. So that's pretty much what I got for his ultimate. I'm going to change maps now, because the next question, I would like to have another demonstration ready, but a different map would be helpful. Alright, so we're on Rialto for this next one, because it's got a better example. How should I be using this as jump ability? I don't really feel like I use it to its full potential. So there are two ones for me, and two uses for it for me, and this might just be that I'm bad, but the obvious one is using it to juke divers. So like, ooh, we're up on high ground, they'd like to kill me right now. Ooh, look, they followed me down, and I jump right back up again. So you can just hold jump while you're falling, by the way, to do this, like, as soon as you hit the ground. Because if you just, like, try and tap it, doesn't work so well. But if you hold it while you're falling, it'll go as soon as you reach the ground. And then, so, hey, Winston jumps on me. Oop. Aha, sucker. Or you could go, like, oh, no, that's not good. go like, now I'm over here, right? So that's the one use I've got for it. And the other one is like, easier example, like positioning near cover, right, as usual, but we're near something we can jump up to at the same time, right? So like, you know, you could stand over here, hey, this is cover, right? It's less good because, you know, you can get flanked from over there, but this is still cover. Like, you know, it's not unreasonable to use this, but for Baptiste, like, standing here is better because you've got something you can jump up to. Similarly, back here, all the way, now, yeah, if they're pushing up here, kind of like fighting around here, we can stand back here. Hey, we're in cover. Oh, someone flanking me, I go up. And ideally, you don't miss the window, but like, oh, someone flanking me, I go up. And now I'm up here, and now I can resume doing whatever I was doing from up here, and jump back down again. And, you know, same deal. You can just like, oh, diver, follow me down, I jump right back up again. So those are the only two, like, real uses I've found for it. If you're just kind of, like, fighting a guy, you could try and, like, jump up. Like, maybe it'll mess, like, a Genji up or something like that, but I don't find this particularly useful for that one. But those are the only two, like, real uses I've personally found for the jump. But again, it might just be that I'm bad. But there's my opinion on it. And so, lastly was, what do you think of my stats? And can Baptiste be played as a main healer, as it became in the last section of the round? So let's pull the stats over here to look at them. And, I mean, yeah, it seems pretty good. Like, Baptiste can do more healing than this, but like 12 healing, it was a pretty short, I assume that was off this game. Bonjour, daddy. I assume that was off this game. For such a short game, like 12k is pretty good. Baptiste can put out, like, Moira, not quite Moira levels of healing, but he can put out, like, pretty close to Moira levels of healing. It'll be a little bit harder to do on console as well, because aiming is harder. But yeah, that seems about fine. It is a lot of deaths, and deaths is the most important statistic to me, personally. But, you know, 8 deaths is kind of a lot. Other than that, you know, if you can do more damage, that's great, but not ideal. It seems about fine, yeah. Healing accuracy, 60%, pretty good. Not much on the damage matrix side, but, I mean, it can be very hit or miss on that one. But, yeah, seems pretty much fine, especially for such a short game. And can Baptiste be played as a main healer? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's best played as a main healer because he doesn't have a defensive ultimate, and he can still definitely output, like, main healer levels of healing. So, yes, basically. And that is all of the questions from the email and additional info. I'm finally back home from university. I hope it went well. I assume that means you're done with university? If so, congratulations on being done with university. If you're going back out to university again, that sucks. Good luck going back out to university again. Either way, covered from both sides. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered any of your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know, and I will try to expand further. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 7 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And finally, if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future. And I hope you found the video helpful. Oh god, it's so long now.